Hey, this is Heidi Dawson. If you love all things health and wellness and style of any kind, hang out here with me each week. I'm obsessed with never-ending improvement, and it's all in an effort to help each one of us live a wildly successful lifestyle. Subscribe today so you don't miss a thing.
Hi guys, welcome to episode 150 of the Wildly Successful Lifestyle Podcast. I'm just coming off a trip to Mexico with friends. It was spectacular. We actually were in Mexico for the 4th of July. And let me tell you, they know how to throw a 4th of July party over there. It was so beautiful and made us feel even more welcome than we already felt. Have you taken a vacation lately? I hope you have. Maybe you took one like my little sister did. She had a staycation, which looked like a lot of fun to me. Life can be super busy day to day to the point to where we're just sort of going through the motions. Doesn't it seem that way sometimes? Kind of like driving yourself somewhere and realizing you have no idea how you got there because your mind was somewhere else the entire drive. Do you know why you're able to do that though? It's because you're so familiar with the drive that your brain doesn't have to do much work to get there. So sometimes you just zone out and then realize you're at work and have no idea how you got there. Same thing goes for life though. The older you get, if you aren't switching things up, the faster your life goes by. Now, if your first thought when I say that is good, my life isn't that great, well, that's exactly why I'm talking about this on this episode. Now, I have mentioned before that I have a generally happy demeanor, okay? I've always just been optimistic. It's kind of my go-to state, which I know is really good. But with that comes the thought that I think I should never be unhappy or anxious or worried. And you know what? Life is supposed to feel good. You are supposed to be happy, but you aren't always going to be happy. It's just not realistic. It's okay to have a not so great day. We're all going to have those. But are you giving yourself a chance to have more good, happy days than bad? Are you aware enough of your thoughts that you can tell when you're starting down a path that isn't serving you? Now, I haven't always been, but with all the thought work I'm doing, I'm getting pretty good at identifying thoughts that aren't serving me and then changing them. So while we were on our trip to Mexico, a few times I caught myself having to check my thoughts at the door because they weren't serving me at all. So we were going with friends that had to leave early, which I have to admit I don't love. It's a thing for me, I guess. Anyway, a day or so before they were going to leave, I started thinking how sad it would be with them gone. But we had other fun friends that were still going to be with us, so it was really just my brain conjuring up thoughts that weren't serving me. So I immediately replaced that with all the fun things we still had left to do. You see, I recognized that thought wasn't serving me, and I flipped it to just enjoying every single moment. And then when they did leave, which was sad for a minute, but we switched things up. So we had completely new experiences, and we never gave it another thought. There are two things I see as being the biggest killers of joy as far as your thoughts go. And the worst part, it's self-inflicted. I was worrying about the future of how I would feel when they leave, which was doing nothing for my present. There's nothing that will kill your joy faster than worrying about the future or dwelling on the past. If you could simply catch yourself doing those two things and turn them around, your life would be so much better. And sometimes we're so distracted or living on autopilot that we don't even realize we're doing it. We were at the airport on the way home, and our friend's plane got delayed by an hour. And then it got delayed by another hour. And so our friends decided, well, they better get on the phone and call. So my friend's on the phone, and we're all sitting at lunch, and he is having his wife write things down. He's very busy, and they're, worrying about whether they're going to get home or not. When all of a sudden, I see him looking all over the table. He kind of panicked, and he said, wait, where's my phone? It was sitting right here. Well, we were all just sitting there looking at him because he had his phone in his hand, up to his ear, on hold with the airlines. He had so much going on that he didn't realize his phone was in his own hand. And he was asking where it was while he was holding it. Now, we all laughed because we've been there. I've actually done that. But we don't want to operate that way long term. We want to become super aware of our thoughts to the point that when we start down a thought that isn't serving us, we recognize it and change it. So how do you know if you're thinking in the past or thinking in the future? Well, if you're sad or depressed, that's a good indicator that you're probably dwelling on the past. If you're anxious or you're worried, that's a good indicator that you're sort of living in the future. In my new kitchen, I have a few pieces that my grandmother gave me that I absolutely cherish. I mean, it started me thinking, though, when we were in our new kitchen that, well, my grandparents won't ever get to see my kitchen because they've already passed. Now, I know that they would love it, and that was not starting me down a path that was going to make me happy. So I turned it around by saying how fortunate I am that I got my design skills from my grandma, and I'll have several pieces from them that will live on in my kitchen. That took me from sad to grateful with just a thought, and I also was able to bring myself back to the present moment. When I was in Mexico and I was worried that I would be sad when our friends left, all it took was for me to take a minute and be present rather than anxious about what might come. And ultimately, was sad when they left, of course. And we felt that for a minute, but then we were off to a new adventure, so it was just fine. And I knew they were fine as well. So you see, a lot of times we worry for no reason at all. And we all do it, of course, because we're human. The key is to not live there. You can feel the feeling, but don't stay there. You aren't serving anyone by doing that, especially not yourself. My challenge to you this week is to recognize moments when you're creating a self-inflicted bad moment by either living in the past or worrying about the future, and flip it around. Become super aware of your thoughts and where they're coming from. Don't go looking for your phone when it's right in your hand. I love you guys, and I'll talk to you in a few days.
Don't forget to subscribe and share with your friends, because we're just going to keep going bigger and better places together, and I love that about us. Talk to you in a few days.